don't know, it's wild, guys. This book is wild. Sorry, my brain is mush. I don't know if I'm smart enough for this. There's a lot of people who have high praise for this book. If you are planning to read this book, do not watch the trailer. Don't even ask me how many copies I have at this point. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chia and I wanted to do a new intro for this video because I realized I never finished this out of my comfort zone video. I started this so long ago. I think I read the first book a few months ago, but I lost so much motivation to pick up another book. At this point I've already read all these books and I realized I have like an old intro from like back when I first started this like reading challenge. This is gonna be books out of my comfort zone. So my TBR is Bunny by Mona Awad. Very out of my comfort zone because it's like contemporary fiction horror, I think it is. And another one that's completely out of my comfort zone is Project Hail Mary by Weir. So I decided to put this on my TBR like months ago and I finally found the motivation to pick it up a couple weeks ago and then include it in this video. And also the last book I read was Babel by Kuang. Another book that is completely out of my comfort zone. It's dark academia and also historical fiction and it's fantasy, and I wanted to pick up these books because like it's always good to go out of your comfort zones once in a while. So let's get started. Good morning. As you saw me make my matcha, this is the first time I'm gonna have it with the blueberry syrup. I heard about it on TikTok about the blueberry syrup that this place called Bling Street uses. I'm a heavy matcha drinker. I love matcha so much and I've been trying to see different flavors that I could add to it. And I heard blueberry is a really good flavor, so this is my first taste test of it. Oh my god. Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you guys are big like blueberry lovers, this would be for you. It pairs really great with the matcha. I haven't started reading anything yet. I'm gonna start reading Bunny by Mona Awad. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on it and update you when I have more thoughts on it. I am back with an update on Bunny. I actually just finished it. This was interesting. It was very interesting to say the least, because it is horror based, so it was very interesting to that point, and it's also, like I said, out of my comfort zone. So I don't know how much I updated you guys about this. I probably didn't. This is probably the only update that I had, because I just wanted to find out what was happening. It was wild. I was trying to figure out how I was gonna review this book. The character is attending a writing arts college, and she got in with a scholarship, and the college is called Weir University, but it's one of those Ivy League colleges. But apparently the way they described the neighborhoods around the college, it was a bunch of rundown, very crime-ridden streets, and it's very unsafe for people to walk around by themselves at nighttime, and a lot of people are afraid because there's been some crimes happening. It's a, what is it called? Gosh, sorry, my brain is mush. It's sort of a contrast, because Warren College is very Ivy Leagues, and Ivy Leagues are very notorious for attracting a lot of well-off students who come from very well-off backgrounds, or sometimes come from scholarship backgrounds. And this girl, Samantha, she comes and she attends sort of like a writing workshop, and every single week she has to attend a writing workshop with a bunch of girls, and they are labeled the Bunnies. She and her friend have little nicknames for them, but they all call each other Bunny. They never wanted to be a part of them. But one day Samantha gets an invitation in her mailbox. She gets an invitation to this club called the Smut Club, or the Smut Time, to the Smut Salon. There you go. So she ends up going that night, and when she gets there, she finds that it's sort of like a writing corner where each of the girls come up with their own little interpretations of narrating stories that include sort of like a smut sexual experience. This book was incredibly out of my comfort zone, and just that ending, I don't even know how to freaking I don't even know how to interpret that, because yeah, I don't know what this ending was. I can't describe it because I don't really know what to say without giving or spoiling anything of it. I don't know, it's wild, guys. This book is wild. Do I want to say that I enjoyed my time reading it? I mean, I couldn't put it down because I just wanted to figure out what was happening. Did I think that this was how it's going to end and how it interpreted, and how my mind just kind of completely was twisted around because of it? I'm not too sure, and I don't know if I could recommend it, but I think I gave it a 3.25 on Goodreads just because of the entertainment factor. So how do I describe it? It's a contemporary horror with a lot of grotesque themes in it that sort of ties into social themes, is the briefest way I could explain it. Pick up at your own risk, especially if you're kind of squeamish about, body parts and anything like that. But yeah, moving on to my next book. Hi friends, happy Monday. I did start Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I am on page 233 with about 48% through, and I am really liking it. I was kind of like most afraid about this book before because of how daunting it seemed. I am not the most naturally science fiction, or science knowledge doesn't really come naturally to me. I can understand it if I concentrate hard enough. Especially in school, I used to study a lot of like mathematics and like science, but I was mainly a English and kind of history person. I was never the one who found joy in science and math based classes, and so I found that this was going to be a little bit difficult for me since science fiction is not naturally my forte. But I actually am really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the way the story is being told. We follow a character who wakes up on a spaceship, but then he doesn't necessarily know who he is or why he's on that spaceship, or even if he is on a spaceship. All he wakes up to is him being asleep for a few years, and he finds that there's like some mystery that is happening on his ship because he doesn't know where he is, and the only thing that he has to communicate with is a robot. Different things occur where he does like little flashbacks where he starts remembering things that happen and how he got to where he is, and also he starts remembering his name and everything. And I'm currently at the point where it's like going back and forth between the beginnings of the mission, and the mission is called Project Hail Mary, and the whole whole entire premise of the book is this one scientist trying to save the world because there is sort of like a science phenomenon that's happening to the sun. And I don't want to say in too much information because I found that the way I went into this blind is exactly how everyone should go, because I don't think that like the story on paper is not as interesting, but once you start going into it and start reading what the story is, it starts getting more and more interesting. There are a lot of like different theories of science. There's like physics in here, there's a lot of like astronomy, a lot of things that I'm not really like naturally versed to, but I found that the way that Andy Weir writes it is very digestible. I can fully understand it. It takes a little bit more concentration than any like other book, but I found myself really interested in the knowledge that's portrayed in this book. And also what I found that really is helping a lot as well is that I have the audiobook on Audible, and a lot of people said to listen to this on Audible because the narrator is really good. It's narrated by a voice actor named Ray Porter, and apparently he's really famous for like a lot of different books, and he is like putting you into the story, and that's what's like making me really interested in the story also. So if you're finding yourself like picking this book up and realizing that you're not really getting naturally into it because it's not what you naturally read, I find picking up the audiobook was really good. But so far it's really a compelling story, and there's a lot of things that get introduced as he figures out the answers to this mystery, and I'm trying to be as vague as possible because like I said, it's better to go into this blind. I'm enjoying this a lot, and I can't wait to get further into it and see what my final thoughts are, because there's a lot of people who have high praise for this book, and so I came in with a lot of high expectations, and that expectations have been met so far. The writing doesn't seem so convoluted. It's very easy to understand. So I will continue on with this and come back when I have more updates. I did end up finishing Project Hail Mary. 6 stars all the way. I thought this was so good, and I highly recommend the audiobook if you are having trouble getting into it, especially if science fiction is not naturally your genre. Like I said before, this book is highly like easy to understand. It's very approachable, and it doesn't feel like it's too pretentious to read, and I highly recommend. I will be thinking about these characters so many times. I can't wait to watch the movie that is coming out next year. Just a tip though, if you are planning to read this book, do not watch the trailer. The trailer is filled with so many spoilers. There's a big plot point in the book that is spoiled on that trailer, so do not watch that trailer if you're going to pick up this book. Just read the book or pick up the audiobook. The audiobook is so good. I absolutely love the ending of this. It's such a bittersweet ending. The writing was perfect. The characters were so heartwarming, and despite like being in space and the vastness of it and like the whole entire trying to save the world aspect of it, there's so much heart in this book because of how he writes these characters, and I'm so mad at myself for like not picking this up sooner. So that means I will be moving on to Babel by R.F. Kuang. Probably the most like one I'm dreading because I don't know if I'm smart enough for this. I know that like it examines a lot of like different things, especially like the colonial like issues and everything, and also it's gonna be dark academia, and I've never read anything by R.F. Kuang. I know some people have said that her writing can come off very pretentious if you don't understand like what's going on and what she's trying to convey, and that she puts a lot of messages into her stories, but I'm so excited to read it and see what the fuss is about. I know a lot of people either really love it or really hate it, so we'll see about that. I know this is like a out of my comfort zone vlog, but I did want to just like show a couple of new things that I just got. I got the Iron Claw editions of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I didn't want to get Onyx Storm because I already have the Sprayed Edge edition of like when it first came out, the deluxe edition. I felt like I didn't really need that edition because I already have like multiple copies of Onyx Storm, and this is more copies of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame that I'm adding to my collection. Don't even ask me how many copies I have at this point because I just needed the sprayed edges for Fourth Wing, especially since I didn't get the one that originally came out with, which I'm super sad that I didn't. I know this is like out of my comfort zone vlog, but I wanted to talk about one of my favorite series, especially if like you're looking for these editions, especially if you missed out on like the original sprayed edges that it came out with 2. So I was excited when it finally came in. And also, I am filming a video where I'm rereading Twilight, and I did get the 20th anniversary collector's edition, which I'm so excited about. So if you want to see more of this, I'll probably link it once I do have this video posted, or whenever I have the Twilight reread posted. I have so many videos going on right now. I have so many vlogs that I'm reading different books in, so I will post it when I post it. But yeah, I wanted to show like a little bit of book mail also. But I will be back once I have an update and once I get a little bit into this and see how my initial thoughts are. Alright, I'm back with an update. Sorry if I seem flustered, it's like the end of the day, and also I realized that I wasn't recording for the past 10 minutes while I was talking about this. To begin again, I was always intimidated by R.F. Kuang's work because I just feel like I'm a little bit too dumb to understand what she's trying to put into her books, because she speaks a lot about politics and different situations in society that people go through every single day, and then also she puts a lot of history into her books. Like for example, this book follows a character named Robin, and it is in the middle of 1800s, and he unfortunately has to watch his family die from cholera, and so he is stricken by cholera himself, but there's a professor who comes while he's almost dying to rescue him by using these magical silver bars, and that's basically what the fantasy is in this book. So he gets rescued from Canton, which is modern day Guangdong province, and so he goes to London. He is forced to be learning constantly different languages, and he has tutors coming to him constantly, because the main reason why Professor Lovell came to rescue him because he needs him to attend Babel because he speaks fluent Chinese. And in the Babel program, they are filled with a lot of foreigners who are working on these silvers to imbue them with paired words, because it only works when someone who is a fluent speaker of that language imbues it with magic. And so they are able to have these privileges and everything to go attend Oxford. So when he gets to Oxford, he has to spend like 4 years in Babel, and he ends up meeting these friends named Remy, Letty, and also Victoire. Victoire is Haitian, Remy is, I believe, Indian, Letty, I believe, is white. And so they hang out together as cohorts, and they come and together, and basically it shows like how pretentious they are. But I feel like that's done on purpose, because there's such a constant stereotype of people who attend Ivy League schools and just speak in these languages that we, as a regular society who doesn't attend Ivy League schools, are not accustomed to. So they constantly argue about the history of everything, and it doesn't seem like they're actually real friends, but they hang out with each other and they cling to each other because they face constant battle every day with the other people who live in London who are constantly throwing racism and prejudice against them. And they're completely rude. There's moments in the first few chapters where I am so angry at some of these people because of how they are mistreating these students just because they are different colored, and like it's told mainly from Robin's perspective of how they acclimatize to London society, and also trying to lose like basically their nationality in order to fit in better into British society, and they are made to feel like they need to thank their people who adopted them, because they all have the same story. They all were taken from their homelands and taken to Babel in order to do work for the British people, and that's the main reason why these British like adopters take these foreign kids and force them to attend this school, because they need them to work on this silver. Otherwise London will stop working because it's based on all this silver working. And also they power the Navy ships and everything. We are set in industrialized London, so of course these are important stuff to them. There's a lot of stuff that I see has been examined as like the privileges of these people who are able to attend this education. These laborers come and protest Babel because they blame them for taking out their like whole entire factory, but there's like no sympathy from a lot of these like students because they don't feel like they are not adapting to the times. They refuse to get more education in order to leave the factory, but they are so ignorant about this because not everyone has that privilege to be able to have a high-end education. Like, these laborers are not from fortunate backgrounds with a high amount of money, have not had those opportunities to be able to attend this high-end education. So it makes no sense for them to actually like argue with these people for not adapting and also evolving when they don't have the same privileges as these students. And they are like really like small-minded about them, and the way they treat a lot of these characters, like I said, makes me really viscerally angry because I feel it as a fellow immigrant myself. I came here when I was 4 years old, and just thinking about my family having to acclimate to like the English world, where they had to leave their sense of security and leave fellow people who look like them in order to acclimatize to like this society. And so I just feel like the pushback against them, and it just makes me so angry like reading this sometimes. But I also love the parts where like they're going to class and they're like breaking down like these different words, and they are trying to figure out how to imbue words into this like silverwork so that they can achieve the results that they want. So that's basically what the goal is for Robin. And at the same time, he is dealing with having to find a place in the society, and then there's a bunch of stuff where like these characters complain about the food in Britain. They had all this like spice trade like advantages, but yet they don't use it on their food, which I found was like really funny. And so Robin is also dealing with like sort of like a secret society that's going on, that there's like rebels that are forming too. And so far I am actually really liking it. I am a nerd when it comes to like learning a lot of like linguistic stuff in English, and it reminds me of a class I used to take back in early college where I took a rhetoric class where I had to learn how to write a paper to persuade certain people to believe in my cause, and how that's a technique that was used, and how rhetoric is literally forming different words together to have sympathy from the person that's reading your essay. And so it makes me really like happy, and I'm a nerd that way, that I love like the study of linguistics. I love seeing the breakdown of the words and also the root of them and where they came from. I'm finding R.F. Kuang's like writing to be very digestible. I thought that I wouldn't be able to really read it. At first, when I started reading it, I kind of like saw it as a textbook because of the way it's kind of like formatted. So there's parts where, let me show you, where there's like footnotes at the bottom of the pages, and once I started seeing that, I thought I couldn't find the motivation to keep picking it up. So I decided to pick up the audiobook, and the audiobook made it so much easier. And once like I got deeper into the story with the audiobook, then I started picking it up again with that. So if you are wanting to pick up this book, I highly recommend picking up the audio, especially if you're not used to kind of like dark academia studies of this level, and also if you are wanting to try a different genre. So far I'm liking it. Right now, I just wish there was more like connection to the main characters. I see where they're coming from. I feel what they're feeling, but I just don't feel like I care enough. They're together because they share the common differences of being ostracized by the society because of how different they look compared to British people. But I feel like that's just what this friendship is based on, and their experiences, rather than like actual genuine friendship, because majority of the time they're like arguing about certain things, especially Remy and Victoire. They're always arguing about history lessons and like politics and everything like that. Like I said, I'm liking so far. I'm about almost 50%, so I probably am gonna spend the next like day or so probably reading this, and also probably just continuing on with the audiobook because it makes it easier for me to listen to the audiobook at work, because obviously I can't read at work. And I am gonna come back with an update once I have more to say about this. I'll probably finish it before I come back and say anything, because I want to see what the full like story is. But right now I'm finding that the first half of it is still just like trying to study the world. I think R.F. Kuang is like making you feel like a student in the Babel college, so that you know what they're feeling before like the actual plot dives deeper, because I see where the general plot is going, but I'm not getting too fully into that. Like I said, there's like a secret society thing going on, and I want to know more about the secret society. It's always like that with like Ivy League schools. I feel like that's also in Ninth House. I heard about that, but I haven't read it. And why is it always like Ivy Leagues that have like the secret societies? So I will come back once I have an update and once I finish this book.
It takes some time to sunk before pestering again the smaller little routine ends.
Okay, so I did end up finishing Babel. Let me see what the last update I said. So they go on with their academic year and they keep going through finals. We see like the different negatives of them being a part of this collegiate program. It speaks about the discussions of like the positives and the negatives of the academic system and how it's very elitist. It only chooses certain people who are very, very privileged of their position, and they were shown how easily disposable they are, because if they're not being meek and being quiet about their situation, and instead of like talking about the injustices that they face every single day, if they continuing on, these people make them feel like they are lucky to be in the position that they are in, and that they came from like foreign countries, that they would never have had the same privileges and they would have never had a future there. I also like the part that like Letty played somehow in the friend group. She plays sort of like a person who is trying to acclimate to like being around people who do not look like her, but she is one of those who chooses not to see the discrimination that her friends are going through. She is very close to Victoire because she and Victoire live together in the same like dorms. They're all different like housing in different parts of London. How she basically is playing the role of someone who is trying to understand where people of color are coming from, but yet she chooses to have blinders on and not think that anything is that serious for them, despite how many discriminations and how many prejudices her friends go through. I feel like she was done really well because it shows that there are a lot of people who are like her. She loves to be an ostrich in the sand. She likes to stick her hand in the sand, not realize that these big important things are happening around her and to her friends, and she doesn't realize how many injustices that they go through every single day because she comes from like a white privileged background. And so she irritated me a lot sometimes when she would get into sort of like arguments with Victoire, because Victoire would be telling her that no, they will not accept me because I'm Haitian, because of the color of my skin. Letty would have like the mentality of, oh, it's not that bad. How are you going to tell somebody who is experiencing this that it's not that bad? She came from that background because she didn't fully understand. And also I like the things that Robin went through to get to the place he was, because the first half of the book he was also sticking his head in the sand. He loved being around the education system and being surrounded by like-minded individuals, and he knew that he would never get anything back, like if he ever had to be forced to go back to China. He would constantly say that he had no family or friends or a future there, and so he would stick his head in the sand. And so I really like this book. I love the study it went behind. I love like the linguistics that it went behind also, and also I loved a lot of the quotes. There's a favorite one that I found, if I could find it. It's like towards the end, but there's so many good quotes in this. That's just what translation is, I think. That's all speaking is. Listening to the other and trying to see past your own biases to glimpse what they're trying to say. Showing yourself to the world and hoping someone else understands. That's all we're trying to do at the end of the day, is trying to find people who truly understand us and understand everything that we're going through. And I love this book a lot because it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I felt before that other people are still going through, despite, you know, being further into the future and not in the 1800s anymore. But yet there's still people who are choosing to be ignorant and are also being raised ignorant. I go through a lot of Robin's like moral dilemma because he doesn't want to leave the privileges of Oxford, but yet he knows that he can't last forever doing this, knowing that he can affect something in the future. I don't want to say too much about the ending because I think everyone should just read this. I think this is an important story that everyone should read because there's so many good messages in this, and the way R.F. Kuang writes, she speaks the words that I have in my head but are unfortunately not eloquent enough to write in this, and I wish I could like speak like her. I wish I had her intelligence, because if I could write or speak like her, I feel like I could like make the best and most grandest speeches to like persuade people to understand things. And I ended up giving this a 4.5. It didn't fully give me like 5-star feeling because of how, like I said, I didn't really fully connect to a lot of the characters. I just feel like I was observing them rather than like, you know, fully connecting to them. But I did feel everything they were feeling. Like I said, this book is so important and everyone should read this in their lifetime, especially if you're trying to open up your mind and open up your perspectives of things that you necessarily would not be able to see outside of like your own experiences. So I recommend picking this up so much. That is it for books out of my comfort zone. I can't believe I finished all 3 books. I read Bunny. This was like so many months ago, but I'm so glad that I was able to continue on with this video, and like I said, I lost motivation to do the rest of this video, but this one was just like, I'm still sticking with the 3 stars for this one because this was just weird. Like I said, pick pick it up at your own discretion. And if you're looking for something that's like fall themed right now, that's kind of like horror, just be aware that it's very gory. So I just still don't understand what I read. And I think a sequel came out, like it's called We Love You Bunny. I'm interested to pick it up to see what it's about, but not that interested to pick it up right away because I'm still not too sure about this book. And then Andy Weir, amazing, my 6-star read. This was so good. It makes me want to pick up so many science fiction now because I feel so left out from all the stories that like I'm missing out on right now because I am too intimidated to pick these books up. So absolutely, this was my favorite read of the whole entire video. And also, like I said, Babel, a really important read. It's amazing. And also, if you are an academic nerd like I am, pick it up. And also, the conversations in here are so important to read about, especially in this society today. The thing that I feel most saddest about is that despite how much change can be brought on, there's still people who are gonna be still sticking to their ideals and still sticking to their privileges, despite how much they could possibly change a lot of things that are going on, and despite how comfortable people are, they refuse to be uncomfortable. And there's stuff that happens in this book that makes you feel so uncomfortable. So I highly recommend picking this up. Another favorite read of mine, probably one of my most favorite reads of this year. Who knew that like books out of my comfort zone would become some of my favorite reads of this year? But anyways, I wanted to thank you again for watching and sticking around with me while I go through the books, and I hope it inspires you also to pick up books that are out of your comfort zone. You will never know if you will find a new favorite. But anyways, if you want more videos like this, like and subscribe. It really does help my channel a lot. And if you read any of these books, comment down below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.